Hello, everybody. Things are starting to make sense a little bit. And what I'm talking about is that we had a story that we covered pretty extensively yesterday. And we took a look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ it states its eyes the crypto custody launch by end of second quarter. And when we talked about this yesterday, and I was pretty bullish on it. There was 5 different stories that made me extremely bullish. This was one of them, Fidelity, and then we had BlackRock and the different aspects that were going with Coinbase, how they were fighting back, and this one it stuck out to me because I thought it was interesting that Nasdaq is going to launch crypto custody, and this was a big story a couple days ago and yesterday, and people were talking about, well, if Coinbase gets a Wells notice, then the NASDAQ is for sure going to get a Wells notice, and they're going to be sued. And I said very clearly yesterday, I said, no, they're not, because they're not selling securities, or they're not doing staking, or they're not, whatever other, whatever Gary Gensler thinks that the centralized exchanges are actually doing. All they're offering is custody service for digital assets, and that's it. And they pretty much said they're only going to offer right now Bitcoin, Ethereum. So the thesis was maybe Bitcoin, Ethereum is going to lead the charge later on for crypto and digital assets in the traditional markets. But today I was just thinking about it. I'm like, well, it's interesting they're doing that, and I'm like, why are they doing that? Why is this and NYDIG and some other different big players just getting into custody? And then this article came out. I found it quite interesting about what's happening with banks. This is a German DWPbank to offer Bitcoin trading to 1,200 affiliate banks on the new platform. And after we get out of this, things start to make a little more sense. So DWPbank offers, and what it does right now, it offers securities processing to 1,200 banks in Germany. And they're going to create a new platform called WP Next. This is going to offer Bitcoin. Doesn't say anything about Ethereum. Doesn't say anything about Cardano or Avalanche or anything. Just Bitcoin. Now, this article could not be complete. It could be lacking in something. But as of the information I have right here, just Bitcoin. And it's going to offer that to all of its affiliates, retail customers in the second half of this year. This will not require additional KYC procedures or know your customer. And then wallet as a service provider, Tangani and Bankhaus Scheisse's Tradius digital asset trading services will also participate. Retail customers will not hold private keys. Let me say that one more time. Retail customers will not hold private keys. And that's a problem. But that's a problem for a totally different reason. But as far as like adoption, getting it out there, okay, step in the right direction. At least they're doing something. The bank planned to add other cryptos, besides Bitcoin, digital assets, and tokenized securities to the service in the future. NYB Banking was the first DWPbank affiliate to sign the platform and has already performed a transaction. So I got to tell you, this has already come out. They've already talked about doing it. They've already offered it to the banks. They say, sure. So then the question is, well, what are the people doing behind the scenes? Because to me, for businesses, you can have a full suite of services and it can work out pretty well. But if you really want to really dominate your sector, you really want to be there and do something exceptional in one aspect of that. So to me, when I see these things and I see, like, again, NASDAQ coming out and going, we're going to provide custody. And then you got, these German companies and they're offering it to their banks. I can see the same thing happening in America, but just way longer down the line. So again, the banks could be offering the service, and we'll take a look at a story in a little bit. But then you'll have other places, other institutions, which will have just the custody services. Now, these people that are getting into crypto, they're not going to understand. This is the problem. They're not going to understand how important it is to hold your crypto. I made that mistake myself. I think we all have at one point in our career of getting into crypto, but it's up to us to help them understand, like, why they should be holding their crypto on their cold storage device as opposed to a bank. And this is the problem. However, it does help us move the needle, which is still kind of a bummer, but you can see how, like, you'll have one for custody and one for assets. And this reminds me of NYDIG. And NYDIG, we had talked about this for over a year now. And this is one of the articles. Deloitte And NYDIG announced alliance to provide banking for all with Bitcoin. I want you to notice the date, though, on this. June 21st, 2022. I want you to notice the date on this story here. 22 hours ago. So not only did the German DWPbank offer this, already one of its affiliates has already done it, signed up, and made a transaction. Deloitte and NYDIG, June 21st, 2022, again, it just talks about NYDIG will work with Deloitte's blockchain and digital asset practice across multiple areas involving Bitcoin products such as banking, consumer loyalty and rewards programs, employee benefits, and more. And if we go even farther back, this is from January 25th. NYDIG, a leading Bitcoin company, is partnering with banks and credit unions to bring Bitcoin to Main Street. Right now, I mean, NY Mellon is offering these services, but it's not like there's a ton of banks and different places offering these services. And the ones that did offer different services for crypto just got shut down. So now when I see the things that are happening, kind of like in the background, I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because these big companies are going to offer custody services. Then they're going to allow other banks and different places to get into offering crypto and digital assets to their customers as time rolls on. And it's going to be mostly Bitcoin, because that's what the SEC says is a security or is not a security, and maybe a little Ethereum going down the line. The only thing that is going to prevent that is us talking to congressmen and senators and things like that. And then also, and I'm glad this is actually happening, is that Coinbase is going to go toe-to-toe with the SEC because they're getting sued by them. And now we'll see exactly what is a security and what's not a security. But to me, when I take a look at this, I'm like, oh, this now it makes sense. It makes sense. They're going to give this their banking buddies. They're going to hold the custody. They're going to make money off that custody. The banks themselves are going to offer the crypto to the people. And then, of course, all the centralized exchanges that were selling unregistered securities are going to get shut down. Tell me where I'm off there. So let me just think about that in the comment section. And let's go on to this next piece. I just want to go over this really quick because, this is great. This is actually, I think it's good for some parts of crypto. But if you look at anything, just type in the word recession, especially in YouTube, recession 2023, every single person out there is saying that a recession is coming and it's coming quick. And I'm no exception, actually. I must be honest with you. I think that there is a recession potentially coming, especially with the banks happening. But what if it's not? What if everybody's wrong? Because I will remind everybody that, how many people said that Bitcoin's going to 100K? I was one of them. I was totally wrong. How many people said that Luna was going to be the next great thing? A lot of wrong people there. How many people said that, Celsius and Voyager was an awesome platform? I said that, and I was totally wrong. So what if people are just wrong about this recession coming in? And I'm not saying that it is going to happen or not going to happen. There's a lot of great data which says that it is. But what if we're not there? So I will just challenge you to take a look at Ben's site, the cryptoverse. And there's different tiers. He's got a free tier. You can check it out. There's a link in the description. You get 10% off the first month. But I like to sometimes just peruse through this site because I don't know. I don't know if the recession is coming or not. I always like this one, total market cap, and see if we're valued or undervalued. Right now, the fair market value is 1.98 trillion. We're undervalued by 42%. And of course, the risk aspects, and then indicator summary, how much at risk it is. But I like to go to charts, and it's separated by crypto, macro, and equity. And I like to take a look at just the macro and just go through things. And I've never done this live, so I can't give you all the golden goose for Ben's site, but I do like to look at certain things. And one of those things that lead us into recessions and out of recessions is real estate. And he's got it broken down pretty nicely here. He's got developers that do this stuff. It's like Ben's all, has 4 kids and does this at night. But let's take a look like this one. Well, we know the mortgage rate, but delinquency rate. on real estate secured loans. Now this is retrospective, and I believe it looks a quarter back. So we can just see that delinquency rates, of course, in 2008, 2009, we saw that crash, right? Pretty darn high. Went through recession, and even after that, it tipped out a couple quarters after. But we can see right here, we're doing pretty good, actually. Unfortunately, it only goes up to October. Again, it's a little bit of a lagging indicator. But residential sales, I found this fascinating. So like the average sale, and this is just in America, the median sales price of a house sold is still extremely, like, ridiculous high. Again, October. New single family home sold. And this is why I like to just go through these charts just to see. And I can see here, like, even in January, new single family homes, 633, that's in thousands. So it dropped off, but it's coming back up. And then if we take a look at, which one is this? The new houses for sale to sold ratio. This is a good one because, so it says like this: if the ratio is 8, then on average for each new house sold, there are 8 new houses for sale, right? So what does that mean? Well, that means that if you sell one, and then you got right here, you got 10 just waiting to go, that's a lot of inventory. And again, once the inventory goes high, prices start to go down. And we can see that here in the last recession. It just skyrocketed. And we saw it over here too. But again, in February 2020, we're actually down. It went from 10 down to 8. And then this one is interesting because months to sell a new home. If you are an agent or if you're a builder, you don't want a lot of inventory. I mean, it's like with everything. You want to sell that stuff as fast as you can. You can just see right down here. So the months, I mean, we bottomed out in September, but in February, 2.5. And this is, I mean, reasonably low. And that's just that part. So then you can go up here to, well, you all know the unemployment, debt to GDP. We topped out over here, but it's not like we're, falling off a cliff. This is it. Personal income, real disposable personal income. And you can just see that once there was money printing, and look at this. This is crazy. Real disposable personal income. I mean, we're coming up here when we had the money printers going crazy high. And you think after they started to take things down, like it would just keep dropping off. But of course, yes, the Fed did add a little bit to its balance sheet, but honestly, not too bad. And then real disposable personal income per capita, and this is adjusted for inflation. Again, still looking pretty good. And then, let's see. There's just a bunch of data you can take a look in here and just to see like where you think it is. That's why we talk about do your own research, right? So like if I can use these and I can take a look at it and go, okay, well, I mean, I hear what people are saying and they have a lot of good things, but there's a counter argument to that. Again, not to say that we're not going to have a recession, but when you see some things, there are some reasonable indicators. And again, it seems like when everybody says for sure something's going to happen, it for sure doesn't happen. Not all the time. I mean, Forbes just put out their top 5 banks, and Silicon Valley Bank was on there, and they were 100% sure on that one. What are you going to do? But that's it. So I urge you to take a look at that, and you can make your own assumptions. But that's it for today. So look, that concludes for the news. Oh, I will just ask you for a little bit of help. We're starting the shameless plug, Flappy Bird and Web3, me and some partners. If you would be so kind to follow us over on Twitter, Flappy Token. Oh, I'll put that link in the comments. And we're launched later in the year. But that's it for today. I don't want to bug you too much on that one. That's the part of it. So right now, that concludes all the things for the news. If you want to stick around and just chat with me, we'll talk a little bit about crypto, and I'll answer some of your questions if you got questions, or just bounce some ideas off me, and we'll go from there. But if not, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. See you on the next one. Now let's get into the chats. let's see. I saw a good question about non-financial advice. Someone wasn't too happy with it. Let's see if I can find it. Aha, Danny Garcia. Danny says, love your content. Small criticism, non-financial advice. It's become impossible to watch. I would love to hear a dialogue, much more than long answers, especially from Guy. I thought I had the longest answers. Thanks for keeping us informed. And then he says, just long answers. Would love more of a dialogue. Maybe not three people with so similar vision. I had the same vision, but love to hear from others too. This is the problem with us, is that me, Guy, and Ben, we pretty much see things relatively the same way. They are a little bit off from me in how they invest. They're not touching anything. I think Guy's maybe buying some Bitcoin. And Ben is too. I'm just buying. I'm just dollar cost averaging. I started that the full dollar cost averaging like 2 months ago because I thought I'm never going to make it be right 100% of the time. So but the other parts, like where we see like Fed rate hikes and we see where the economy is going and there's some downfalls we think are coming forward. We agree on those things. So for that one, well, I'll talk to the guys and see if we can switch some things up a bit. I thought it would be interesting, maybe like instead of having just like questions, like one day we could just like I could just have two co-hosts and we can go over the news and they could tell me, their insights and what it means, and Ben can pull up some charts and things like that. Maybe that would be it. I don't know. So we'll see. So good comments. Danny says, why do some of you Wrenches Next are nicknamed channel supporters? Because I made everybody administrators, and the reason is not so I could shut people up, but I had so many scammers late last year that I just admin everybody that would show up like more than 5 or 10 times. I was like, you're an admin, you're an admin, you're an admin, and then it just cleans up the chats really nicely instead of having like people going, investor Janet Reno is the best. Find her on Telegram at blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? Becky, Dan on Twitter. That's me. Beardy says, don't sell it until the bull run. Beardy is talking about his EOS holdings. And AU106, Robbie still DCing into ADA? Yeah, I'm DCing into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Avalanche, Near, ADA, Chainlink, some other stuff, I forget. But yeah, either every day or once a week. And that's it. Andrew's got a good point. See, this is why I don't like to do Q&A so much, more like just the points and bounce off them. We don't need banks to custody Bitcoin. We must do it ourselves. They will manipulate the price to do with gold. And that's it. They're holding paper Bitcoin. And this is the same problem. This is the same problem that happened on FTX. FTX was supposed to hold $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and then they figured out, once they, figured out it was insolvent, and it was a scheme that they only bought like roughly $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And my question was this: well, if they would have kept buying Bitcoin like they were supposed to with their customers' money, where would we have been? Maybe that 100,000 Bitcoin price prediction I had would have actually worked. Who knows? But I have no idea. But yeah, you can have all the major banks and this Deutsche Bank. No, sorry, not Deutsche Bank. Credit Suisse. I always get those two confused. I don't know why. They were doing some shady things anyhow. They've had multiple reprimands and they've had multiple fines and spoofing of metals and things like that, just like Chase Bank. And, I'm sure if they got into the game, they would do whatever they need to do to manipulate Bitcoin and things like that. So yeah, it's important that we hold it because we're the only ones that can say, yes, I have it. It's not just paper Bitcoin, which is irrelevant anyhow. Meme says we're going mainstream. I have to agree, especially after yesterday's video. And this one today, I can see it. I wish the U.S. government would get it. We're not all George. Please look on the Epic Cash, not a security. Dibsy says we've been in one depression next. Maybe. Who knows? There's a very scary chart out there which takes a look at the only time that we have a retraction of money, which just happened. We get a depression, Great Depression, and that just happened like a month ago. So if you want to scare yourself, you can look at that. Will Europeans ever be able to retire? I don't know, but there's a bunch of civil unrest going on in France right now on that very subject. So hopefully at some point. Hello, Sin City. You Grow, I Grow says, Dan, it takes a lot of guts to admit you were wrong. It could be wrong. That's why I'm here. Sometimes, but I've been doing it my entire life, so it's actually second nature. So no, I mean, when you screw up, you just have to say, man, I screwed that up. And then I'm going to fix it and then we're going to go. It's, I mean, I learned this very critical skill in the Army. When you screw up, you say I screwed up, because if you don't correct it fast, then people die. So that's just why it's very easy for me to say it. Let's see. Rookie numbers on likes. And that's right. I'm not your dad. You guys can do what you want to. That's right. Silmira says, we will go to that one currency, CBDC. I got to tell you, I was always under the impression that people were smart enough to figure it out with CBDCs, and like we wouldn't go that route. And then with Governor DeSantis coming out and having that press conference saying we don't want CBDCs, and then Senator Ted Cruz from Texas saying, we need to eliminate CBDCs and not make them happen. Even as all that happens, there's a great video from Simon Dixon, and he just lays it out. He goes, look, they're inevitable and they're going to happen. And before you say, well, Simon Dixon is obviously a government shill. Well, he's not. He's a Bitcoin OG and has been on the channel many a time. And he's just like, look, it's inevitable that it's going to happen. And we just need to prepare for it. And that's why we need to teach everybody as much as we can about the digital asset, crypto space, and about self-custody. It's not so much about having your Bitcoin and putting it on a platform and gaining yield off of it, right? We need to actually say, no. We need to custody that because that is mine. And we don't want to have fractional reserve banking and whatever you're doing with my Bitcoin to dilute the value of it. And that's the big thing. So I think that's why I'll be here for quite a while. Let's see. Hello, everybody. We are losing our freedoms in the CBDC. Just another step. It could be like the digital yuan, or it could be, like Giancarlo says, that he thinks that we can have a digital dollar and still remain private. I think he is wrong, but hopefully. But yeah, it's going to happen. Let's just accept that. That's okay. The CBDs happen, and then we have that, and all. This is the great thing about the CBDCs, is that it only takes one time. It only takes one time for someone to get screwed over to where they're like, hey, I tried to use my CBDCs and there's this, whatever social score, or they deemed that I wasn't, or I was, they said that I was an undesirable person, and they shut off my account. It only takes that one time for that to happen to somebody, because that one person tells 10, and 10 tells 100, and 100 tells thousands. And that's where things just explode. Here's a prime example. What happened the last 2 weeks when all the banks collapsed? Not all the banks, but we had a couple, one bank collapsed, then we had Silvergate, Signature, and Silicon Valley Bank, and now we have Swiss Bank. All those banks that started to collapse, which I think there's more on the horizon. What happened? Well, everybody started to talk. And what's great about the internet age is that it just takes one person to send a tweet or an Instagram post or TikTok or whatever. And then everybody is like, wow, I can't leave my money in this bank because they're not insured. And who knows what's going to happen later. I've had so many people call me or text me and say, hey, where should I put my money? Because now I'm scared that I won't be able to get it back out. I'm like, wow, yeah. So again, it worked out pretty well with the banks. I think this fractional reserve that they're doing, a fractional reserve lending, it can only last for so long in this digital age. And then with the CBDC, if it comes down to it and they start to control people, all they got to say is, well, I thought it was cool until it wasn't. It's a good thing that I know this guy named Rob, and he's got this show, and he talks about the Bitcoin where I can opt out. Well, maybe I'll just do that. It's inevitable. It's right? I mean, am I off on that one? It just seems quite simple. Anyhow, Aristotle says, Rob, I do my own research and get more and more confused about everything. Me too. I must be honest. Like that article I talked about, that Forbes, the top 5 banks in the country, they came out and Silicon Valley Bank was like the top 1. How many people did due diligence on that article? How many people did due diligence on FTX? How many people did due diligence on those banks? Just investors and people who bought stock in those publicly traded companies. How many people did that? And they didn't get it right. So I think that what's the people who scare me are the people who are 100% sure of themselves. Those people scare the hell out of me because I'm like, I don't think anybody should be like that. I really do think that we should, there should be some part of us that's like, well, I don't know about that because that doesn't make sense, or I don't know the whole story. An example would be like you can look at 30 different data points on one thing, and then all of a sudden you look at this one data point that totally invalidates your whole thesis. How many times have you watched the History Channel and that's happened to people like that? So for me, I'm just like, well, I don't know where things are going, but I know if I stick around for the long haul, I should be okay. And I try to pick the best products I possibly can. I'm going to get things wrong, but that's okay because I don't have to have 20 winners. I just have to have 1 or 2 that skyrocket. Same thing with the internet age. You didn't have to have. So what if you screwed up on pets.com and AOL? Well, if you just had a little Google, maybe a little Amazon, it worked out okay. Okay. Hey, Rob, when Flappy launch? Is that a Twitter website? We're going with that right now. We already have the Web 2 developed. The game is ready to go. We're just waiting for Apple to give us the approval. That's the easy part. And the Web 3 is 80% done. So we're trying to get it out in May, then maybe June. So everything's there. But it's going to be different how we do it. It's not going to be heavy on tokens. They're going to be NFTs for power-ups and things like that. But it's going to be a very simple game, and we're going to have a product before we do anything. That's the secret. Like a real secret. That's a good question. Airdrop for subscribers. Yeah, I probably should do that. It's a good one. PHX, that's a great question. Fantastico. So the question is, what do those listed rules mean? Great question. So I made these during right around the time of the Celsius collapse, and I really started to harp on them right before the Voyager collapse. And there's 5 rules, and most of you know this, so you can just tune this out. It's all gone, meaning everything you invest is probably all gone anyhow. That's your mentality you should have. So what does that mean? Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. If you have a mortgage and your house costs $2,000 a month, and you make $3,000 a month or whatever you're making, don't spend $3,000 a month in crypto. That's ridiculous. Maybe $5, $10, I don't know. But it's all gone. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Everything's a scam until proven otherwise. Even if you hear from me, it's probably a scam. Just say it's a scam until proven otherwise. Verify, don't trust. Nothing gets left on exchanges. 0. So you can buy and sit around there. And I know there's different places where people who are traders who want to, have their fill orders put in. That's fine. But the best way, nothing on exchanges. Put them on your cold storage device. You can use the exchanges, right? But just pull them off. No leverage. I'm sick of hearing about the people who use 50 to 100x leverage and don't make it. Tired. I get those emails weekly. There's a caveat to that too. If you want to use like a 2 or 3x leverage, have at it. I'm not your dad. But for me, I don't use leverage because I think it's a little risky, especially at 1500x. You might as well you're playing with fire. The last one, take profits, meaning nobody ever went broke taking profits. I'm pretty sure that in the last bull run, I'm pretty sure everybody here thought that they could probably take a little more profits during that time. That's really it. That's my rules. Mike Bennett, everybody's always wrong. Yeah. Martinell says, isn't AI just going to disrupt all this? Maybe. I think Simon Dixon said it. He said, we're going to have an AI algorithm or artificial intelligence, which will dictate what and how much of the CBDCs are actually put out and who gets what at the right flow at the right time. Scary, right? So AI to disrupt this, maybe it'll come up with a better idea. Who knows? Do you think Tether will collapse eventually? I've had my fears on Tether for quite some time, but again, wrong, because which one of the stable coins lost their peg so far? Luna, USDC, I want to say BUSD, a little bit. Tether, nope. So I'm not saying to put everything in Tether. I'm just saying, just giving you a little history that Tether is so far so good. Oh, excellent. You grow. If you want more recent mortgage data, check out Black Knight Mortgage Data. Using inputs of Fannie and Freddie Mac. Charts are only 30 days. Excellent. I will definitely do that. Black Knight. Got it. 2 EO should cover retirement. Yep. RS says, when Alaska Gold and graphics look great. That game is you can get an early rush or get an early alpha and play it, but I believe they're putting the public game out in August or September. Things change a little bit over there, but they did pretty good. They had a great launch, and I wish them the best. Let's see. Guy is a doomer. He is great, though. I think Guy's pretty upbeat, quite honestly. I mean, he's just kind of like, but you got to understand, like Guy was in the UK and he saw, I mean, the crushing inflation that's going on over there. And he's got family over there still. So I think it's a little bit more difficult. Like here, like in the States, like we don't see it as bad. Like I'm like, well, the eggs are priced pretty good. So inflation's not too bad. Like here in Puerto Rico, prices are always high, and gas for the liter is actually down. So I'm like, that's pretty good. But I think Guy's middle of the road, pretty even keel. And I think, I know people will say, well, Ben's the biggest doomer out there, and he's just Mr. Poor potty and hates everything. Like, no, trust me. Behind the scenes, Ben's like, yeah, we're going to go pretty far. I just don't think it's going to happen in the next 6 months. And I got to agree with him. Do you think with NASDAQ and German bank that crypto could have an early start of a bull run? I think what it would be, I think that would be a nice kickoff. But I think what would really happen is if we start to see, I hate to say this, but more bank failures, which will give more attention to alternative investments such as Bitcoin and digital assets. Mostly Bitcoin, though, because that's what people kind of feel it is for. And then I got to tell you, we might have a little mini bull run for the next FOMC meeting if Jerome Powell doesn't, if he just says, okay, no rate hikes this time around. If we see that, we could see a little bit of a bounce, but I don't know about a bull run. There's too many factors out there that inflation is too high. People are still concerned about that, and we'll see. But again, it's the economy doesn't bounce back first. It's equities that bounce back first, then the economy follows. There you go. Me and Barry doing a joint stream one day. Now that would be good. We'd call it EOS Brothers. And then we would just talk about EOS for like 2 hours straight. EOS won't make it the next bone. How dare you, Chris? How dare you? I have all my money in EOS. Just kidding. Let's see. Eric Murphy says, what's up, bro? Question, do you think crypto IRAs that are using Coinbase are in trouble due to the SEC's attack on Coinbase? We talked about this in depth yesterday about what the SEC might be looking at. And again, we went back with Simon Dixon, and he pretty much said, he's like, look, he goes, both sides are not telling the full story. Coinbase isn't telling the full story, and neither is the SEC. And he talked about how the different licenses that they have and how they're supposed to onboard their customers are supposed to be done and how they're actually doing it. And, how also the SEC is not approving anything and how they are actually sending a little bit of guidance, but they're not approving squat. So he goes, everybody's not telling the full truth. So that's why I said we have to go to war with them in the legal process, and they have to be sued. And I'm glad that this Wells notice got served to Coinbase, and now we can get this all figured out. I don't like to drag things out. And I got to tell you, if the Fed would have, just come out on fire earlier and raised rates higher quicker, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. But like, okay, well, that sucked, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And we're kind of in the lull, but we're recovering. Now we got to grind things out with these stupid 0 or 25 basis point hikes for who knows how long. Yeah, it's a good question. Whatever did happen to Sunday pump days? I'd like to see that. Watto. Enjoy your videos. My question as a content creator, how do you manage viewer retention? Probably the toughest part right there is when you're trying to get people to stick around, it's, there's two things. First of all, you have to find, how you do things and how your voice is, because I don't sound like Altcoin Daily, and Altcoin Daily doesn't sound like Hashoshi, and, vice versa. And Ben doesn't sound like any of us. So like in this one, you just have to find the way that you do things and then try to make it as interesting as possible. And I always try to condense it as much as I can. Before I was doing like this is a long video because we're doing Q&A. I try to keep things short and sweet as best I can, give my opinions and get out. That's the best I can tell you. Let's see. Deutsche Bank in trouble. Sorry, it was Credit Suisse, excuse me. Rod, do you think AI will take over crypto for humans' chance to realize what's happening? No, I think AI will take over other industries before then. And I'm just more concerned about these deepfake videos. I mean, how easy would it be for them to do President Zelensky to come out and say, hey, Russia, we're sorry, and we surrender. And everybody lay their weapons down. And it looks just like Zelensky, sounds just like Zelensky, and everything else. Probably cause some problems. Why buy Bitcoin at 27K when you can wait and buy at $1 million? That's true. Danny's got a good point. There's an old adage, sell in May and go away. Learned it from you, Rob. I got to tell you, if this recession comes in when people think it is, it'll be the most accurate time I've ever heard of it, because everybody kind of is saying that this recession is going to kick off brutally in Q3. So, looking at end of June and early July. If that's the truth, then selling in May would have been a pretty great deal. I probably won't. Well, we'll see, actually. I can't say anything. I'm just going to look at some data. Hey, Rob, you think Alaska will do the state or the game? The state, I think, does fine. The game itself probably do pretty well. It's got great graphics, and the people really believe in the project. Let's see. And I think we're coming up on that. It's a great question. It's a great question. What will a bank do that exchanges won't? You know what they'll do that exchanges won't do? Name recognition. Here's it. Here's what we have. You can go to an exchange right now and buy crypto because we've done that before. It's no problems. Now talk to the normies. the people who have never done it. And they say, I want to buy some crypto. Okay, we want to go on an exchange? No, because I heard about FTX and what happened there. I don't want to do that. Or I heard about this thing called BlockFi or Celsius or Voyager, so I don't want to lose all my crypto. I'd like to get in some way. Okay, well, also Wells Fargo is offering this to you, and Chase Bank, JP Morgan, Fidelity, whatever. Oh, I don't know. They're not FTX, are they? I trust them. That's the only thing they can do different. It's name recognition and trust. And if you can do that, then you can get a lot of people going, well, okay. Well, these guys they've charged me overdraft fees for so long, I trust them. That's the mentality, man. I know. So that's it. Yeah, Brandon McNamara's got a good one. Say script. Don't be an SPF and say, sorry, I messed up. And I bought a nice condo here in the Caribbean for my parents. So thank you. Have you heard of Vulcan blockchain yet? I've heard of it. Not really sure. I haven't got any of it, though. It's a great. So what's your thoughts on Peter Thiel selling his crypto and Bitcoin? You gotta understand, and this is a great thing. There was a story we covered about a month and a half ago. And when Peter Thiel was talking at Bitcoin Miami, he was talking about how great Bitcoin is and how it's the future and how he really believes in it. And just 3 weeks or a month beforehand, his investing company sold, I don't want to know if it's all or most or all of it. It was a pretty good trade, actually, for that time frame. And if you pin down Peter Thiel and ask him, hey, I thought you said that you believe in it. He's like, well, I believe in it, but it was just overheated and I sold it. So that's what you got to understand. So all the people that you listen to out there in the cryptoverse, that they say, I believe in it and it's going to be the greatest thing. In the back of your mind, you should be thinking, how much did you sell? And how much are you dumping on me? Just remember that. Peter Thiel, and who knows how many other ones that are out there. And the only reason we know Peter Thiel did it is because I think it was a publicly traded company. But I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, sold a bunch of it. Almost all of it. It's not surprising to me. It's just I've been here for so long. I just like, well, it makes sense. Hey, Rob, what do you think about other M2 move to earn products like without sweat? For example, Steppen, FitFi. Well, I have Steppen. I actually have it on my phone. There's that one, and then there's Satoshi Miles, or called Smiles. And that is a free app that you use it, you download it, you walk, and it gives you Satoshis. Pretty cool, right? But just know, I don't know if they sell your data. I can't tell you for sure if they do or don't. They'll probably say they don't. But just like how when you came into YouTube, you probably saw an ad. You'll see some ads, and they'll sell you some stuff, and that's it. But it's a pretty good trade-off just to stick on your phone, walk around, and get Satoshis. I mean, I walk all day long. Meme says, in my opinion, there is a silver lining after CBDCs are a reality. People will be more comfortable with Bitcoin and crypto. That's a good, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, it's true. You know what would be interesting? And I think that's true because people, like, they're not really used to having wallets on their phone per se, but they're used to like a Venmo, a Cash App, and a PayPal. So when they can kind of look at this and go, well, that's my whole thing, and I can push it this way or that way. When they take a look at CBDCs and they move things around, maybe it won't be such of a big deal when they have, hot wallets like a MetaMask or something else. So yeah, that's a good point. That's the point. The Fed might as well create an account number, same as your social, give you some digital dollars if you behave, shut you out if you don't behave. Again, I think that'll probably happen, but it only takes one time for things to collapse. Some people will be like, well, they shut it down, but it was my fault because, I had too many Twinkies and, you can't have that much sugar in America or whatever. I'm just kidding. But if they shut people out and people don't like that. And then we go to social media and said this was shut out and they were tracking this and here's my data. And, I couldn't buy gas anymore because, ESG. And that's what'll lead back to crypto, Bitcoin, digital assets. That's how I see it. ACA, Bloomberg, Beardy gives a thumbs up. My life is complete. I cannot type. No, that was fine. Gary says, pretty new to staking. What's the rule of thumb when collecting your rewards? Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly? What's the norm in your... So it depends on the product. Like for me, so it pretty much just comes automatically. I know like with the Cardano stake pool, again, shameless plug, link in the description. Like we don't touch anything. The stake pool operators don't do anything. It's all done behind the scenes and you get it into your wallet, whether that be Daedalus or Yoroi or Ada Lite or Nami or whatever you want to do. Every 5 days you get those rewards. Near protocol is pretty much the same thing. It just kind of gives you automatically. Polkadots, I don't think you collect those. I think you just put in, but some you actually have to go in. Like with Genso Kishi, you put them into your staking and then it adds up and then you get it. I just, whenever I can remember, honestly, just go from there. Yeah, wish these social classes goes away and everyone can look at each other the same. That would be nice. We'll see. Ledger is the best. That's what I was going to get. Did I miss anything? 100x made $10 up. Thank you. It's a good question. Charles says, for someone, seniors with issues with using Ledger, how safe or unsafe other wallets such as Exodus? Exodus, if it's a hot wallet, first of all, Charles, there's a website. Dan teaches crypto, 100% free. And I talk about the difference between a cold storage wallet and a hot wallet. Exodus, I thought was a hot wallet because you're connected to the internet. I could be wrong, correct me in there, but anytime you have a hot wallet, it's a little bit more dangerous, I guess you could say, than a cold storage where you have nothing connected to the internet, where it's not possible. I'm sure everything's possible. Very tough to hack. So Exodus, this is how I see it. What the hell is it? I had it. So I talked about this card before, Arculus, right? And it's kind of like a hybrid between a cold and a hot storage wallet. I have my MetaMask wallet in here. And I also have my Nano Ledger. And I got all this stuff right here. So it's just like a bank, right? Would you walk around with, $100,000 in your wallet, in your back pocket? Or would you keep $100,000 in your bank protected and maybe keep like $20 or so in your wallet? That's how I see both of these things. I think that's the best way to look at it. Ooh. How do I convince my girlfriend to invest in crypto? Eric, you don't. You just don't. You can talk to her about it, but at some point she'll come your way. And the reason why I say that is because I've had other people who have said, my wife, my girlfriend, my husband is going to kill me because I told them to get into Bitcoin at $69,000 or Ethereum at $5,500 or whatever else it was. And I'm like, ugh. So for me, I just say, look, if you want to learn about it, that's cool. I'm not going to push you. And it's up to you because, just better that way. Those news thoughts on a CBDC pegged to a $32 trillion deficit? America, baby. America. We're going to increase that debt ceiling. Don't you worry. That's the only time Congress can actually get together and agree on something. Yeah, guy's a realist. I got to agree. And I hate Gary Gensler. I don't hate him. I just think he's... Here's a plot twist. Maybe Gary Gensler just wants to usher in Bitcoin this whole time. Maybe he knew that Coinbase would never sue him and the SEC. So he goes, you know what? I got to push their hand because I want to make sure everybody gets Bitcoin. So I'm going to sue them and we'll eventually lose the case. And I can usher in Bitcoin behind the scenes. Fade to black. I know. It's a pretty good idea, right? Maybe not. Okay. Renzo, this is a great question. Next administration will be crypto friendly. And I think this is it. This will be the last one. Yeah, I don't see the Democrats winning this next election. I just don't. We've already flipped to, not we, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I just kind of vote for the best person. The House has already been flipped. So, you know, it's Republican controlled. Senate, I think it's a narrow. Is it still a narrow? Yeah, I think it's, well, let's see. I think it's still 50-50 with the VP cutting the tie. Control. Nah, whatever. And then, of course, you know, you've got the president who is a Democrat. I don't see them winning. So if they get out, then depends on who the next person comes in. If Trump runs again, he's not very crypto proponent of that. We'll say that. If you've got somebody like DeSantis, sure, but some people hate DeSantis, and some people don't want him to win. All right. But I think there's more people on the Republican side that are more pro-crypto than there are on the Democratic side. I think Elizabeth Warren is the far left for crypto, we'll say. So yeah, if they just depends on who's in office. I am real. Unlike this green screen back here. Exactly. Matter of fact, I'll be traveling next week. So and then we'll be back in Texas around April 1st. So expect a new green screen. What did I miss? I'm going to give you the opportunity to watch it right now. Everybody, that's it for today. We've gone 52 minutes. So look, thanks for hanging out with me. Almost 2,000 people just hanging around. That's great. If just need a favor, if you like today's video, thumbs up, just consider subscribing, all that great stuff. And that is it. Also, if you're in the Puerto Rico area, tomorrow morning, we'll be going to Amigos de los Animales to walk the shelter dogs at 8 in the morning. It's a beautiful scenic walk. And of course, the shelter dogs get out. And I always post about that on Twitter and the address and everything else. We go from 8 o'clock to around 9:30, and I buy everybody breakfast. So if you want to stop by and do something good, hang out with me for a bit, great. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 in the morning. If not, I'll see you for tomorrow's video. But that's it for today. So thanks so much, everybody. See you on the next one. Adios.